Well, welcome back, everyone. Here we are, another ShiftED podcast. Start of new school year is here, 25, 26. And I'm reaching across Canada to pull in just an amazing expert, Dr. Gordon Neufeld, on attachment theory and relationship building, which I think when we begin these school years is crucial for us to do with our students and also our colleagues within the school to create that kind of welcoming community where we encourage learning and growth and mistakes and all of those beautiful things. So, Gordon, thanks so much for hopping on here and sharing some insight about this topic that you've been dabbling in for a long
Forever.
time, I'll say.
Yes, forever. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation to join you.
A real pleasure of mine. So, when we start talking about school readiness, I think that's kind of something that we're getting our kids ready for to go into school. But I heard on a TED Talk that you had done a while ago that nature's job is to grow the kids, right? It will do all of that stuff. But
Mhm.
it's really our parents and teachers to cultivate the relationships, a part of that, which goes tandem with that process. What are some of the ways that you talk to people, educators, parents, about kind of getting out of the way of nature and focusing on what you have power to do, which is help kids with that maturation process before they are going into school and this idea of school readiness? Could you put some words to that for us?
Yes, I could write a couple books about it, Chris.
Right.
It's a very good question, and it gets to the issue, of course, as you said, and thank you for listening to that. It's always
Oh,
nice to
great.
know that somebody took in that TEDx talk on, I think it was relationship matters, or I'm not
That's
sure
right. It was
what.
called Relationships Matter.
Yeah.
Yep, totally.
Yeah. The thing about relationship, and I think I bring it out there too, is
Mm,
it's invisible. It's a context, right? Even the word context is with text, but it's not the text, so it's invisible.
mm,
And if everything was working well, we wouldn't have to pay attention to it. And culture is meant to keep us together. It's the ties that bind, it's the rituals
mm,
and so on.
mm,
And so when we do something like a school and we take children out of the villages of cascading care where they are, it really sets up. When you put them into daycare, it just sets up something that nature never had in mind.
absolutely.
Like
Right.
this wasn't the deal.
Right.
Uh, and and that's what makes it so difficult. In the plant world, all the attachments are below ground. You
Mm,
don't see them. You only
right.
see the fruit of attachments. You never
Right.
see the attachments. Well,
Mm,
that's the problem in general society. You don't see attachments. You don't see the relationship between an atom and uh, and a proton. You don't
right.
actually see the relationship between the moon and the earth.
Mm,
Yet that relationship defines everything. It's invisible. It's
right.
invisible, and it's not what is seen. And that's what attachment is. It's invisible. And that's why it's so important for those who can think, and educators should be the primary ones who can think, you
Right.
know, think about things and philosophies and so on,
Yep.
is that they realize that when we do this kind of thing, when we take children out of the context of cascading care with their grandparents, their ancestors, their tribes,
Right.
their cultures, and so on, that we essentially become attachment agents first and foremost.
Mm,
And so we think of ourselves as educators of teaching children. And again, as you spoke to, the issue is actually all the wonderful things that we talk about develop quite spontaneously
mhm,
if children have the conditions that are conducive to that. And the number one condition is an experience of attachment where the togetherness is not threatened.
mm,
Now,
mm,
there's no way young children are able to hold on to their parents and their grandparents when apart. So
right.
they need help. So
Yep.
that's the first thing of help is how do we help them hold on when apart?
Mm,
This we become agents of attachment that way. Secondly, they don't function very well outside a context of attachment, so they'll naturally gravitate towards their peers
right.
because they're at whenever attachments don't work, you retreat to sameness as being the main idea of attachment. So you
Mm.
can see the health in society. In society, like you can see the health, like in the American society now, with this huge tribalization. It goes to
Right.
sameness and differentness. Whenever a society does that, you know it's in trouble.
Mm. Right.
Youngsters do this all the time, and you know they're in trouble because they'll go to sameness, borrowing another
Mm.
person's laugh, having to be the same. It absolutely thwarts the whole individuation process. They're not
Right.
growing up, but we think they're being socialized.
Mm.
We think they are now conforming to the society they belong in. In actual fact, they don't belong to each other because that's not how care is delivered. Care is delivered in cascading care. And so
Mm.
our job is not only to become agents of attachment and help them hold on to their parents when apart. And an intuitive teacher will kind of get that, especially
Right.
with a young one, that that's what they need to do. But the second thing is you got to get into the business yourself. You've got to get into the village of attachment so the child attaches to you, so that there is a context in which nature can do what only it can do, is to grow the child up.
Right.
Nowadays, we've got into nature's business, trying to teach things like empathy and trying to teach things like self-regulation. This is all spontaneous.
Mm.
We're teaching what can't be taught. We can
Right.
only teach children to perform. I mean, that's always been a criticism of a school, is
Mm.
the school is learning taking place? If that was true, why are we crushing their curiosity? And are we
Mm.
not only measuring performance? And is that not like a monkey? We're doing circus tricks. Is school not only a circus where
Mm.
where children perform? Do we really have we really learned? Can we remember things we have? And
Right.
why is it that more children are curious in kindergarten than in grade 12?
Very
That's
true.
not good.
Very
That's
true.
not good.
Well, there
So
was something that you said too that struck me, that kids learn like more than all formal education in their first 4 years of life
yes,
than all of
yes.
formal education.
The formal education all day. The brain
So
is just
yeah.
going crazy, but you learn about what you're attached to, how to attach, about
Right.
how to be part of, how to matter, because that's what the brain just soaks in. And the
Right.
second thing is, if there is luxury there, then it
Mm.
goes into the play mode, and play optimizes attention, learning. It goes automatically into the play mode. And so that is how you know there's luxury. There's a problem,
Mm.
is that if even if attachments, like for a 3 or 4 year old, even if the attachments are, the child feels very secure in the togetherness provided, it only lasts for a couple of hours.
Mm.
And
Wow.
then the child goes back, because play can't be sustained,
Right. Right.
because it's a luxury.
Yeah.
And so we can call things play, we can put it into the curriculum, we can say go play now. That doesn't mean
That's
that they're playful.
right. That's right.
Well, we've been thinking of play rather than playfulness. It's
Yes.
playfulness that is the number one indicator of emotional health and well-being, even for our cats and for
Right.
our humans.
Right.
And if we understood this, is how do we preserve playfulness? And that includes the teacher. If the
Yeah.
teacher isn't playful anymore, oh my goodness, we've got a problem.
Right. That's an amazing point too, Gordon, that because oftentimes when I talk to teachers, preschool teachers, daycare teachers, there's still this not quite sure of what play is and like the
Yeah,
benefits of play. They're even in like preschool, they have this mindset that they have to prepare these kids for grade 1 and grade 2 and et
yeah,
cetera throughout. And play really gets neglected in the sense that it's not valued as something that is actually way more important than learning to count or write your name
yeah.
at that age, I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Well, at every age,
Mhm.
is play is the uh, nature school for learning.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
learn more when we're playful than anything else. I mean, the major corporations in the world have known that the creativity happens in play. All of the latest science on attention deficit is, no, you get attention into the play mode in
Mm.
curiosity, and the
Mm.
filters work differently, and the brain finds its way around. And this is the antidote,
Yeah,
not medication, which
exactly.
actually interferes with the development of the prefrontal cortex.
Mm.
Play just optimizes all of this. It engages only that which doesn't overload the brain. So in this
Mm.
explosion of hypersensitivity and spectrum, we should know, well, what is the answer? Well, if we're talking about sensory overload, our brains were not ever designed for the information they have in this world. They
Mm.
are totally overstimulated, some more than others. And
Mm,
those who are hypersensitive and cannot filter out the information need play as a default scenario, because play automatically regulates incoming information to that which you're curious about. And
mm,
so your brain has half a chance to be able to work with stuff instead of spending its whole time trying to keep things out. Like it
right.
already throws out close to 95% of all stimulation. But in the
Mm,
hypersensitive, it's struggling to keep it out. So it's a
wow.
defensive mode. And
Yeah.
and and we don't have growth. We don't have progress. So play would be the standard modality for any child having difficulty, be they 3 or be they 15, would be the issue.
And with that play coming in, we tend to also snip it out, formalized education. Play is like for recess and after school and lunch, whatever.
Um,
Any time that it's not during the class.
well, we call it play, and
Yeah.
we call it play because play is supposed to be engaging.
Right.
uh, if you look back to your own recess, certainly mine, very little play happened.
Mm,
You're busy scanning for what works, who likes who can I
mm,
play with, who I won't be rejected with. This is all attachment work. Children are exhausted after
mm,
recess.
mm,
Many of them are much safer in the class than that. It's a Lord of the Flies scenario out there that we put as supervisors in.
right.
Now, the savvy ones can learn how to function around it, but if we looked at it, it's not play.
Mm,
Play is an instinct, is a drive. It's one of three basic drives, the other ones being attachment and achievement. Play is the only one that's not outcome based.
mm,
We have used play as to call games, which are primarily outcome based, screen filled activity or screen activities, which are primarily outcome based,
yep.
sports, which are only play if they're not outcome based.
Right.
And so we're using this word. We even call things like playoffs, which are completely outcome based.
Right.
There's no playfulness in anybody in playoffs.
Right.
No, the real issue is not what
Mm,
we call play, but when the brain is in the play drive. Because when the brain is in the play drive, it's expressive. There is a certain safety from feelings getting hurt. It's a state
mm,
of active rest. The brain is optimized in the play drive. It
mm,
is it is where everything good unfolds. It's a greenhouse for growth.
right.
And that will be true of teachers as well. All their
Mm,
creativity will be in their playfulness. And if they can't figure out how to be a teacher and how to preserve their playfulness, they're in trouble. And that's the
right.
bottom line.
Totally.
And that's why I said we know more about our cats. If our cat has had a trauma, how do we know when we get our cat back? When they're playful again. Well, it's the same with us.
Right.
It's the
Right.
same with us. And so we shouldn't be thinking of play. We should be thinking of playfulness.
Yes. I
And
like that.
playfulness is when the brain is in the play drive, as opposed to in one of the two outcome drives. In
Right.
attachment, the outcome is proximity. In achievement, the outcome is desired results. And
Mm,
so in one of the two outcome, and that's play is the spontaneous drive. You can't make
right.
yourself playful. You can't teach playfulness. You can't catch it. It is spontaneous. You can't,
I often
it's
totally. I hear like teachers say, "Oh, I'm not creative. Oh, I have no imagination." I'm like, "Well, you do, but
yeah,
are
you
you
do.
playful?" I mean, I guess that
Yeah,
word
no,
"playful" is really
it's
appropriate
all
for that.
about the playfulness.
Right.
And,
Right.
when your children are playful, when they're being playful, it doesn't matter what it is. Like if they're old enough to play with words, with
Mm,
wit, with irony, with paradox, like
mm,
what is irony anyway? What is a metaphor? It's
mm.
playing with concepts.
Right.
What
Right.
is philosophy? It's playing with ideas. Now, when we teach these things, we're no longer that we've lost the plot here.
Totally.
We've lost the plot that when our attachment needs are taken care of sufficiently, when there is sufficient togetherness, and we're not facing threats to that,
Hmm.
we turn from creatures of attachment to creatures of play.
Mm,
And that is us. And tell that isn't just for kids, that's for us at our death's door, is
right.
how do we face our mortality?
Mm,
If we can't face it, uh, with we can't face it directly. We're not meant to. We have to face it in song and a lament. We have to face it in poetry. We have to face it, it one step removed. That's what generates all the poetry in the world,
Yeah.
is facing these things. That's we have
Yeah.
to do it in the play mode. There's no way we could do it directly.
Amazing. And I'm kind of like starting to make some things are starting to connect a bit. And I mean, a lot of what we try to teach our kids, soft skill wise, you know, how to collaborate, how to share, how to critically think, how to, we have all these great skills that we want to bestow upon our youngest generations. Is it simply just kind of again getting out of their way that
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can't teach resilience, right?
Well,
Like you have to
not
be in
only
create
that.
environments you could maybe to practice it, but can you
No, you can't. You can't.
okay.
No, you can't. I mean, the very idea of being able to teach empathy,
Hmm,
and if you teach something, then you reinforce the skill that is made. As
hmm,
soon as you act in a caring way for personal benefit, it's not empathy, it's narcissism, it's
right,
selfishness. You
right,
can't teach it.
right,
You can't
right,
teach it. No more
sure,
than you can teach playfulness. This is spontaneous life force unfolding if conditions are conducive.
right.
Now, we're full of paradoxes. We use what children care about against them
Hmm,
and then are surprised when they don't care anymore. But
hmm,
caring is at the heart of empathy. It's not taking somebody else into consideration. The bully does that better than anybody else.
right, right,
Okay. And that's why
yeah,
they stopped in science. They stopped doing all work on empathy because they found that the ones who had the best empathy were the bullies.
hmm,
So they called
wow,
it cold empathy because they had made a huge mistake, is that caring is at the root of it. So it's 10 years. It took how many years
right,
when science forsake self-esteem because they realized that they couldn't go anywhere that way, that those that were in denial had the best self-esteem of ever of
hmm,
anyone. We're all
right,
insecure. And if a 4-year-old doesn't know that bad things can happen to those that they love, then there's
hmm,
a problem with that.
right, right,
And then when we say and pathologize that, there's a problem with that.
right.
So we're trying to teach things. We're trying to teach an apple tree how to bear apples. Uh,
I get that. Yeah.
that
That's a
not
great
only
analogy right there.
not only is it futile, it
Yep.
is dangerous
Hmm,
because nowadays when you go to a store and you get an apple, how many apples taste like apples anymore?
hmm,
Because the whole industry has gone to create a strawberry that we can call a strawberry, looks like a strawberry, an apple that it's prematurely to get fruit that they can get to the store and that can last. Does it
hmm,
nurture you? No,
hmm,
no.
yes. Hmm,
So it's even
hmm,
worse is
right.
when you get an act that takes the place of the real thing. And that's all learning theorists know how to do, is to get
Hmm,
us to act right. But
right.
we know when we act nice, when we feel mean, we call it hypocrisy.
Hmm, hmm,
Yet with children,
yes.
we call it self-regulation
Hmm,
and we call it empathy.
right. Interesting. Wow, you're making so many things trigger here, Gordon. I'm like, I know that we won't have enough time. Well, we need like 20 more of these.
That's
But
why I said I could write a couple of more books if I could write them,
exactly.
I'm a terrible slow writer. That's why I had to get Gabor Mate to help me with Hold
Right.
On to Your Kids. But
Which amazing book. Such a legacy to that book as well, and the truth that it speaks. I mean, I go back to it often just to
mm,
remind myself. But if we could, I want to kind of take some of this mindset that we're talking about and put it in a reality situation of what's going on now. We have the school coming back, teachers getting new loads of kids. What are the key things that teachers should be aware of at the start of these school years where their awareness of attachment theories and relationship building? Can you fill in maybe some advice for teachers on the things to be aware of or tips that you might offer up?
well, it's keeping it in mind. And that's the
Mhm,
hard part of it. It's invisible, is that when we're dealing with other people. As a therapist, it took me a long time to realize that I really was only an agent of attachment. And I'm talking in terms of adults and marriage therapy as well.
right,
I'm
right,
helping I'm helping individuals hold on to each other, find togetherness in a world that's falling apart. I'm
mm,
helping individuals grieve the lack of it, but where possible, trying to be able to help them hold on.
mm,
That's first and foremost the issue. If they don't, children are filled with attachment alarm, which we call anxiety, agitation, attachment problems, cutting and burning. These are all things to be able to reduce it. So we have all kinds of behavioral problems, adrenaline seeking.
mm,
Anxiety is the biggest one. It's the one there that indicate that that children are alarmed and
mm,
they're becoming defended against it.
mm,
And so the bottom issue is that we're falling apart as a society. It takes nature's 6 years of optimal development to be able to cultivate the ability in a child to hold on when apart.
mm,
They have to have given their heart to their mom, dad, grandparent, so that means that it can transcend death. They have to now start sharing all that is within their heart so they feel known from inside out because they're beginning to identify with their insides rather than their outsides.
mm,
That's part of the identity. That takes a long time of development. Most adolescents today are only at the second level of all about sameness. If you can't be with, then at least you can be like. And
mm,
that is a great polarization that is happening around the globe. Why?
right.
Because they're not in loving relationships, because they haven't given their heart to somebody. If a 5-year-old hasn't given their heart to mommy and daddy or to the teacher or whoever substitutes for it, they're in trouble,
Mm, mm,
and they're going to be full of anxiety. If a child, because it hasn't been safe, has moved to the alpha mode and is controlling and bossy and prescriptive, we think such a child is more independent because we realize that no, this isn't independence. This is a child who is trying to stay on top of his world, who is controlling. The problem is you can't make yourself safe.
right.
So their anxiety escalates and they develop eating disorders because you can't be in control of your own food. What do? We
Mm,
try to teach children self-care. Who should
mm,
be taking care of them? Us.
right. Right. Right.
Putting them into this. So what am I trying to do as a teacher? If I'm involved in it, even as a psychologist, if I'm involved in it, if I have any profession outside of that natural cascading care thing
Mm,
is the way nature is meant to grow us up and to connect us. If I'm involved, if parents are farming out their kids to be raised, and I'm involved in that endeavor from the outside, then my number one responsibility is to be able to keep relationship in mind,
mm,
helping them, be able to look for to, to bridge the divide, to collect the kids, to get their eyes, their smiles, their nods, to build relationships, and that this needs to be with adults, not with other kids, because
mm,
that is not how care is delivered. Care is delivered in hierarchical attachments. And so
right.
not in terms of siblings when they attach to each other, they get locked out of the care their parents and grandparents have for them. Just like if stars revolved around each other, well, it's really obvious in the universe, because if planets revolved around each other, they'd die, like
Right.
they crash into each other.
Right.
And that's what happens with our kids are all revolving around each other, and it's disastrous because
Mm,
care doesn't get through. And when care doesn't get through, we have mental health problems going through the roof.
right. Right. Which we're seeing. I guess it brings me to this question is hold on to your children, onto your kids, sorry. I mean, you put that out a long time ago in a almost it seems like a different environment that we are in now.
Yes,
How do you see does that message still resonate today? Like,
more than ever.
or that's what I was gonna ask.
More than ever.
Mm,
I was so concerned about how slow I was. I wrote the book in about 1999,
yep.
and it was way too big, about 240,000 words. And
Mm,
I thought, oh my goodness, everybody's going to discover this. And there was a little bit of pride in me that wanted to be credited with being able to, say, hey, wait, something is happening, here. And I shouldn't have been concerned. First of all, that's why I went hunting for Gabber, because Gabber's a really
right.
quick writer, right? And I
Mm.
said, "Help! I need help," because he was one of my students
Right.
taking my parenting
Oh,
courses. I
cool.
said, "Help!" And so he helped me. And of course, He's such a good writer, and now
It's a
etc. So
wonderful book.
he
Such
helped
a
me
good
get
book.
it out. We
Yeah.
didn't it didn't get out till 2004, but that was 1 year before Facebook, before social
Hmm.
media, right?
Right.
But it's
Interesting.
even more important now because now we're seeing all the symptoms of children being pulled out of orbit from those who are meant to take care of them. And we're seeing all of those symptoms that are there, including all kinds of mental health problems, you know, addictions with digital devices, with social media, and so on. You know, this is the thing is if teachers remember only this one thing,
Hmm.
is the child needs adults in his life who care for them. And for that care to get through, the child needs to be attached to them. It's like the umbilical cord. You can't get it through if the umbilical cord isn't there. So,
Right.
what is my job? My job is to work at attachment and let attachment work for me and for the child. It will
Right.
work for me because the child will naturally attend to me, want to be good for me, want to do what I want them to do. So I'll have more influence in that child. It will open their mind. No, Socrates himself said in defense
Mm-hmm.
when he was being criticized, according to legend, that is, on his Socratic method, well, I couldn't teach him. He didn't love me. Like if that was his defense, he knew well
Right.
that
Right.
attachment was the bottom line. Like, and,
Well,
and then we think it's our way of teaching. We think it's a curriculum. No,
mm,
no. Again, a child can learn from the worst teacher if they're attached to the teacher.
right. Right. Yeah.
Attachment does all the work.
Right.
We have to retreat. We're not retreating. We're teaching harder. We're
Mm,
teaching more. We're teaching longer hours. We've got to
mm,
retreat.
mm.
Why is it that all 3-year-olds seem to be gifted and then they become stupid when they come to school?
Right. Yes. Well said. Very well said. I mean, the ideas and the concepts that you brought in are so relevant still today, and I think even more so needed because of all of the other things competing. I mean, back then it was just peers, but now throw in social media, throw
Yeah.
in digital devices, throw in phones, and like we're battling more and more, it seems, to create those relationships because we have tons of competition out there with
Yes, we
these
do.
kids.
We do.
Yeah.
And that's the basic thing. You know, what was the problem with television? That
Mm,
wasn't the problem with television, it's what it interfered with.
exact. Yeah.
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 And what is the problem with false play, with outcome-based play? A little bit won't hurt, but it's what it interferes with.
Yeah. Totally.
And it interferes with the relationships that a child needs. It interferes with the play they need.
Mm,
And so in the research on the science of play, the kind of play that children need is it was consistent for generations, and now it's taking a nosedive.
mm, right.
And this is huge because when we lose the play we need, again, none of us can grow ourselves up. That's
Mm,
not you can't teach maturity.
right. Right.
None of us can grow ourselves up.
Mm,
And and this is only something nature has been able to do. We can't make the geranium grow. We can't make the apple tree grow. We can't make a garden grow. We can be midwives,
mm,
but that's only providing the conditions that are conducive. We have never cracked life, and that is a spontaneous unfolding of potential.
wow.
That is what it is. Teachers are to be a holder for this, providing the conditions that are conducive for nature to do its work.
Mm,
What are its conditions? Attachment and play. So as things disintegrate in our society, we got to retreat to those things to be able to focus on cultivating a relationship, the child's relationship, helping them hold on to those who have the care to deliver to them, and
mhm,
helping them form the connection with us, the attachment that they want to be with us, a bit like us, belong to
mhm.
us, so that we can take care of their relational needs, and then nature can do what it does best, grow them up.
Amazing. Well, Gordon, this has been absolutely mind blowing for me, and I
Mm,
know the listeners are going to feel similar. I wish we had more time to continue this, but I want to respect our time. Again, thanks so much for taking some time out of your day and sharing your knowledge with us. And
mm.
I'm sure these words ring true to educators and these little just helpful reminders, as you said, a tip. think about it.
Yes, just think
Think
about it.
about
Just keep it in
relationships.
mind.
That's
You
right.
know, that's all you need to do is it's simpler than you think, you know. It's
That's it.
simpler than you think, but you need to retreat, not push ahead. You need to retreat to the basics, to the elements. If we retreated instead of pushed ahead, we'd find the answers would be there, you know. Well,
Amazing.
it's my pleasure. As you can tell,
So great.
I've got lots to say about these things. Uh,
I hope one day you come and hop on again and we continue this amazing conversation. It's been a real pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Chris.